तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भृगो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ॐ त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव। ओम गुरुदेव भगवान शिव शंकर भोलेनाथ कैलाशपति महाराज की जय, भगवान व्यास जी महाराज की जय, शंकराचार्य भगवान की जय, स्वामी चिन्मयानंद भगवान की जय, स्वामी दयानंद भगवान की जय, स्वामी प्रबुधानंद भगवान की जय, स्वामी शुद्धानंद भगवान की जय, साध्वी आनंद ज्योति जी की जय, सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय, सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय, माता पिता की जय, माता पिता की जय, सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय वासुदेवाय। ओम श्रीमद्भगवद गीता chapter number 6 and verse number 10 we have to see. Verse number 10 is about where Bhagavan says, may the yogi always connect the mind to the objects of meditation. In the last verse we had seen what will be the yogi's attitude towards the other persons. Other different type of people. What will be his attitude towards the different type of people. And now we will see the yogi always connect the mind to the objects of meditation. Objects of meditation. Let's see the verse first. Let's try to recite the verse. Yogi yunchita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitah ekakiyat चित्तात्मा निराशि अपरिग्रह। Satatam, constantly. Rahasi, in a quiet place. Sthitah, remaining. Ekaki, being alone. Yachittatma, one whose body and mind are relaxed. Nirasihi, one who is free from longing. Nirasihi. Aparigraha, one who is free from possessions. Yogihi, the meditator. Atmanam, he or she, his or her mind. Yunchita, may unite with the objects of meditation. objects of meditation. May the meditator, whose mind and body are relaxed, who is free from longing and possessions, remaining alone in a quiet place, constantly unite his or her body with the objects of meditation. May the meditator, whose body and mind are relaxed, who is free from longing and possessions, remaining alone in a quiet place, constantly unite his or her mind with the objects of meditation. See, objects of meditation is to be understood, which Swamiji is going to explain. First, we see in this verse the word yogi is qualified by several other words, and this yogi constantly meditate upon the self. Yogi means meditator. Here yogi is who? The meditator. Dhyata. Yogi means meditator. Dhyata. The one who does the dhyanam. And the advice given is yunjita. May one absorb the mind. Unite with the mind. Unite the mind. Commit the mind to the objects of meditation. In other words, may one meditate upon the object of meditation, which is mentioned later, which we will discuss. This is the general advice given by Bhagavan Krishna. May the yogi always, satatam, connect his or her mind to the object of meditation. Along satatam means always, and can even means eternal, forever. Eternal means not forever. It is eternal is not in time. Time is in eternal. There is no limitation, no time. Eternal means no time. There is no time. Thus it is. When there is no time means it is. The context determines its actual meaning. Here satatam means that the person should meditate as often as possible or as long as possible. Meditation does not require an accomplice. Where should this meditation take place? In a secret place. Rahashi means a quiet place, which in Shankara's time was hilltop, giri or a cave, guha. Thus Shankara explains Krishna's word rahasi sthitaha as giri guhadu sthitaha, on a mountain top or in a cave, meaning the one who meditates remaining on the hill or in a cave, because you may take along some other people. When you go to a quiet place, Krishna says that the yogi, the meditator, is one who remains alone. Yogi ekaki, or as Shankara puts it, without an accomplice, asahaya. In meditation, you do not require an accomplice. It is not a job to be done that requires the help of others. No sidekick or understudy is needed. No one other than you should be there to meditate. There is no requirement of anybody else. This is to be understood. To meditate, you don't need anyone else. People have tendency of taking along with the whole kutumba, along with them. That is not going for meditation. To do meditation, you do not need anyone, not even a friend. It is your own job, a quiet job with yourself, where you are your own friend, just as we saw earlier in the chapter. Your bandhu, friend is yourself. There is no other friend. You are the friend of yourself, and you are the enemy of yourself. If you don't understand this, you are enemy of yourself. If you go for Shastra, you are friend for yourself. Shankara uses the word asahaya, meaning without any sahaya, accomplice, because he takes the word ekaki to refer to a sannyasi. Sannyasa being synonyms with jnana for him. Sahaya can also means bhraya, wife, whom the yogi being a sannyasi naturally leaves behind. These kind of mandates were meant as simple rules, not absolute rules. Therefore, we can take the spirit of them and edit or adopt them as necessary. We can take a person to help with daily routines. Even so, how can you go to a quiet place far away from home, wife and children unless you take to a life of sannyasa? If you are not a sannyasi, you have to remain at home and perform your duties. Then the person who remains at home, who does not go away and leave all the people behind, is a grahastha. Graha means home. Married people are called grahasthas. Whether they live in a house or a van, the word grahastha, like all word, is born of the tradition itself. Even if man does not always remain in the house because he has a job, he is at home in the sense that he has certain duties to perform. Unless he renounces these duties, he remains at home and is called grahastha. We have seen that status of grahastha, householder, is one of the 4 stages, ashrama, of person's life. First, the person is brahmachari and then a grahastha, which is important because this stage prepares one for the 3rd and 4th stage, vanaprastha and sannyasa. Once person becomes sannyasi, he or she leaves home and he is no more a grahastha. So grahastha, which literally means one who remains at home, is from the standpoint of sannyas alone. For instance, when a man leaves home as a sannyasi, there is no sense of divorce implies in terms of his marriage. He is not renouncing his wife in order to be free to remarry, which is not renunciation at all. It is simply frustration. Rather, it is growing out of maturing, because of which the marriage has served its purpose. Neither person requires the other. They are both sannyasis. So he walks away and she remains where she is, protected, no doubt, but also living like a sadhu, the home having become an ashrama. The word grahastha itself has its basis in sannyasa. Sannyasa being the ultimate goal of the grahastha. Sannyasi is not a choice, it is the ultimate goal. A person who is alone, who remains in a quiet place, and who has the attributes of a yogi can meditate constantly, whereas a person who has a home and family cannot. It is impossible. Therefore, Shankara says that Krishna is talking about a sannyasi here. First, he had talked about the karma yogi, and now he is talking about the dhyana yogi, the sannyasi, one who lives in a life of meditation. This dhyana yogi is further described by Krishna as yata chitta atma. Chitta means memory, but here it refers more generally to antahkaran, the mind, which includes memory, usually the predominant factor that disturbs you in meditation, because your mind continues to operate in meditation. When as sound comes, you are definitely going to hear it. This is why you withdraw the sense organ to the extent possible. For example, closing the eyes, so that you can be absorbed with the object of meditation. What then is left to disturb you? Chitta, memory, memories from the past. Before chitta is mentioned here, since chitta stands for the mind in a compound, yata chitta atma, the word atma in this compound is taken to mean deha, a physical body, and yat refers to both the body and mind being brought under one's mastery. The body is totally relaxed and the mind is absorbed. Whatever problems there may be, they are taken care of, which is all a part of meditation. Thus, Yat Chit Atma is both a name from the yogi and a qualification. Whenever a disturbance comes, the body is kept relaxed, and whenever memory comes, the mind is brought back again to the object of meditation. All of this Krishna discusses later. Meditation requires freedom from longing. Further, if you have to sit in meditation, you have to be a person who is free from longing. Longing means lalsa. You have to be free from lalsa, desires. Nirasihi. To sit in meditation means that there should be no pressure from inside. Otherwise, you cannot sit. This inner pressure is longing, desires, lalsa, ichhaye. And nirasihi refers to the one for whom all longings are gone. Nirasihi means for whom there is no desires left. Who has understood the desires, who has not renounced the desires. Now he has no desire. The one who does not have a desire. There is a difference between renouncing the desires and not having the desires. Renouncing means forcefully stopping them. If you forcefully stop something, it may explode back. So, it is not renouncing forcefully. It is just understanding that there is no desires. The person does not have the desires. He has fulfilled all the desires. He has understood all the desires. You cannot fulfill all the desires. It is to be understood that desires cannot be fulfilled. If you fulfill one desire, another will copy. If you simply close your eyes, and if longings are there in your mind, you will not even be able to keep your eyes closed, let alone sit quietly. And at no time at all you will feel the fuming and fretting inside. Just by closing the eyes, all the longings well up. If there are desires, longings still there, then you cannot close the eyes even. Closing the eyes is difficult for the person who has the longings. At least with the eyes open, your mind is arrested by the objects you see, because there is something going on and that gives you a direction. But if the eyes are closed, then whole world is within you. And the longing will create so much disturbance that you cannot remain sitting. Whereas the nirasihi, a dispassionate, free from longing, is relatively satisfied with himself or herself and is therefore a cheerful person, because the meditator is a person who has been living the life of karma yoga. Krishna mentions these particular qualification here, which according to Shankara's definition of sannyasas are qualities of sannyasi. What it means to be free from possessions. Finally, Krishna describes the dhyana yogi as aparigraha, one who is free from possessions. Parigraha means hoardings or gathering. which can be a big problem. Ikhatta karna. Hoarding means to have more and more and more and more and more wealth. Parigraha means hoarding or gathering, which can be a big problem. In fact, it is a disease that everyone has to some extent, because it is so difficult for people to give up things. They keep up on gathering. Even if you give them away, you go on gathering more. This capacity to give up things is to be always retained, so that you are the boss. The person who is alert to this fact is called aparigraha here. Shankaracharya ji himself questions how the word aparigraha could apply to a sannyasi, one who is supposed to be free from gathering things. But even sannyasi has tendency to gather. A person may be alone in terms of other people, but in terms of possessions, he or she may not be a parigraha. Therefore, this gathering tendency has to be kept away by continuously giving things away. Aparigraha is very interesting word here. Not only does it means to be free from gathering things, but also from the longing to gather. The tendency to gather various objects is a common trait to the sansari, and an old habit, because this habit may still be there, and also because things do have a tendency to gather. The sannyasi has to constantly maintain the status of being aparigraha. After this, Krishna goes on to say that all the necessary qualifications being here, may you unite your mind to the object of meditation. Atmanam yunjitah. In other words, may you meditate. Although Krishna's advice may look as though it is directed to a sannyasi, it really is for everyone, because everyone is ekaki. In fact, even though you may be a married and have family, you are ekaki. One who is alone, at least when you close your eyes, freeing yourself from all duties and role, you become ekaki. Whereas if you think of the father you are, the mother you are, or the daughter or son you are, then you are not ekaki. It is not through all these people, all those roles are inside you. Therefore, to just be yourself ekaki, you drop roles, all the roles and their problems when you meditate. You stripe yourself to be the simple person you are. Whatever that person may be, one who is meditating is called ekaki, dhyayi, yogi. Meditation requires discipline. The next section of this chapter deals with what has to be done by the person striving for meditation in terms of discipline. Nirayama, beginning with where and how to sit. Asana. In this section, Krishna discusses the eating habit. Ahara. Ahara of the meditator. What should meditator eat? Saying that one who does not eat at all will have no yoga. Nor will the one who eats too much. The fact both of them may have roga, not yoga. कम खाने से और ज़्यादा खाने से मेडिटेशन नहीं होगी. योग नहीं होगा, रोग होगा. रोग माने बीमारी, diseases instead. Discipline in terms of other activities, vihara, that are conducive to yoga, to meditation, are also mentioned by Krishna in this section. Meditation itself is means for steadiness and clarity of the mind that leads to knowledge. But to live a life of meditation also requires a discipline, which is considered to be a secondary means or sadhanam for meditation. The remainder of this section of the chapter 6 is devoted to the accomplishment of this yoga, the discipline and its result. From verse number 11 and 12, Bhagavan is going to explain how one should be meditating. Means what should he do to meditate? What are the ways of meditating? So to start with, he says where to sit and with what to sit in meditation. This is a very big thing. Having arranged one seat made of piece of soft cloth, a skin and a grass mat layered in reserved order, in a clean place, firm, not too high, not too low, sitting there on the seat, making one's mind once pointed, absorbed in the object of meditation, may the one who has mastered the mind and senses practice meditation in purification of the mind. In the verse 11 and 12, Bhagavan is going to discuss about the asana. Asana means aste asmin iti asanam. That on which one sit is called asana, a seat. Where should I sit and how should I sit to meditate? Sit on a place which is soft, which doesn't hurt you down there. Should be a cloth. In our language, Hindi, we can say a gaddi, gadda, whatever suits you, asana, a proper asana. For a person who is in jungle, he can have a soft skin of some animal or whatever, and a grass mat or on a grass, so that you are not disturbed. See, all this is not to be not for disturbances. Why one should have a peaceful mind? Why one should, this is what we have just done. One should be free from longing. Why one should be free from longings? So that his mind does not get diverted again and again to the desires. Again desires coming, again. Mind should be peaceful. First mind should be peaceful. Then eyes. Close your eyes. Mind is peaceful. Eyes is for all the sense objects. But there are certain sense which, like sound. You cannot stop sound. You cannot stop smell. Smell is going to happen. If there is somebody with the perfume enters the room, the smell will come. But then you don't flow with the perfume. You don't flow with the drum sound. If you are for meditation, the sound may be there, but you are not, you hear it because ears are there to hear. So therefore it is said, close the eyes. First, peaceful mind, then peace to the senses, and then peace to the whole body. And then sit on a place where it doesn't hurt you. You are not disturbed. A clean place. If it is wet, then you will feel the gilapan. The place should not be too high, too low, should not be too low, should not be too high. If you fall asleep and you fall down. This is what Bhagavan is going to slowly explain everything from verse number 11 and which we will do tomorrow. For today we will do this much only. And then we will discuss the sitting postures, objects of meditation and nature of meditator. How meditation is done. Meditation is to be being oneself. To be with the oneself is meditation. There is nothing else other than oneself. That is meditation. It's a long chapter going to. So we will discuss everything in detail. Swamiji has given enough. He has given enough explanation to slowly and steadily keep on studying the Shastra, the Gita, one of the beautiful texts. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Om Gurubhyo Namaha.